This is volume 13 of the 15-volume trade paperback collection of the first volume, 11 Rockets. And this is called Chester Square. And in volume 11, it centered around Hopi. Volume 13 centers around Maggie. And this was serialized also among several issues. While Hopi's out east, Maggie is somewhere in Texas. And it kind of shows her stuck in this Texas town, and it's near her Aunt Vicky's camp. So she is there for a while. She's trained to be a wrestler. And I will say that I think that this story connected more with me as a reader, as far as compared to Wig Wham Bam. Some of the motivations, some of the things, it wasn't hard to follow. Again, we got an obligatory Penny Century appearance that is just random. I know she's a major character, major unlikable character. But the fact that this centered around Maggie, who's always seems to be written more nuanced. I mean, Maggie does stupid things. Sometimes they move the plot along, or she just makes bad decisions, like a lot of these characters do, on and on and on. At least there's some heart here, if that's the way I can say it. Maggie's sister appears, and it's kind of like up in, this town is also near where like Maggie first grew up in Texas. So there's family ties there. Her sister was the girl that was obsessed with Speedy, and even though Maggie says, I don't blame you for Speedy, she definitely was one of the major reasons why Speedy ended up in the situation that he was in, because she was dating a guy from a gang, dangerous dude, but she was also shacking up with Speedy. Now, we don't ever knew how Speedy died, but she put Speedy in a dangerous situation. She just didn't care. And so this story, like I said, is pretty good. It's just kind of like growing up, like Maggie's meeting her dad, who's disconnected. He's got a new wife. The new wife is actually very nice and caring, but there's still some resentment there because he wasn't around for them when they were younger. Excuse me. Got a little bit of Hopi here, dealing with, because Hopi now is kind of looking for Maggie. And so you run into Joey back again from Wig Wham Bam, who is, like I said, a bigger piece of crap than Hopi could ever be. Maggie and her sister decide to move in, and then Danita joins them. And I will say that this 2-page sequence that Jaime did of Danita is just a masterclass in storytelling. Because in 24 panels, it goes from Danita thinking about Ray, then her mom saying you're late, her mom drops her off at this dry cleaner, and then she walks her around to the corner and she works at a strip club. And this looks so much like Ditko. This scene with this guy, nervous, older guy, sweating, holding up a folded dollar bill. You've had to have been, if you've ever attended a gentleman's club, you've seen this. And all of a sudden you see this one guy, and you can tell he's gotten sweet on her. He comes by with flowers, and then it gets to the point where she tells him, you gotta leave me alone. He grabs her, and once you touch a stripper, you're kicked out immediately. Doesn't matter what. So she goes from dreaming about Ray to dreaming about this guy with a knife. And then one day somebody calls her, and it really is the guy saying, I'm going to, he's making threats. So she moves all the way to Texas to live with Maggie and her sister to get away from this guy. And, Danita does dumb things, like she takes her kid to the strip club where she can't find a sitter. And then Danita becomes the escort or not escort, but ring girl for this famous masked luchador. And again, this is some of the Wigwam Bam where it's almost like a group of aimless people, but they seem less aimless, and there are unifying threads throughout the entire story. So it doesn't seem as random. This goes back and explains some backstory as far as Vicky having a child that was kind of hinted at before, and why she didn't raise the child. There's a subplot with one of the female wrestlers that has a real crush on Maggie. So Maggie says, oh, I'm getting married. So once it gets out, everybody is happy that Maggie's getting married. They want to know who the guy is. So now it's like she doesn't want to tell anybody. She's like, oh, I just made that up. But again, it's just one of those things that Maggie does. That is just a dumb decision. There's like no idea of repercussions. So anyway, there's a little bit of a weird subplot where Vicky is captured by these young guys because apparently Vicky has some political enemies in another country, and therefore they want to like take her to like bring her to this other country so they can collect some kind of reward. And there's always these weird political undertones in both stories of the leftists and the rightists and this and that, but it's never really explained. And you never know if they're really supporting, were they supporting a good guy or a bad guy? Or somebody, you know, if there are good guys and bad guys in politics. So, you know, this is sort of like the story. And it seems like a lot of this stuff happened to guess. This is like Jaime said, this is the ending that I want. So Danita's about to leave again. Poor Elias, poor kid. And then that masked luchador tells her, this is, you know, because in Lucha Libre, you never take off your mask. Only to the people that know you the best. You're not supposed to let anybody see your face. And he says, no, you know, like, I really miss you. I want you to be part, I want to be part of your life. I want to raise your son. So, and then they're just kind of getting to a close. And there's this very weird sequence where there's the wedding between Danita and this masked luchador. And then Maggie goes to another wedding. And it's her sister getting married to her boyfriend. Because earlier she said that she didn't want to get married to him. But now she realized she wanted to get married to him. So Maggie's kind of happy. And then there's this weird sequence that later on, this one of the guests, one of the people there, slaps her. And then somebody else comes up and slaps her. Her dad slaps her. Izzy slaps her. Danita slaps her. Ray slaps her. All the people in her life come and slap her over and over and over and over and over and over again. Finishing with, you know, Hopi and, you know, Ran Race. All these people. And then she wakes up like she's in a dream and says, oh my God, I had this long dream. And I read, you know, dreamed that Speedy died. It was so real. And they're like, oh, no, we're going to go on a tour. Come on. You agreed that we're going to go on a tour together. So you start wondering, like, was this all a dream? And then you see this, and then she wakes up, and then there's a slap. And you realize, oh, it wasn't a dream. It was like almost like a dream within a dream kind of thing. It was just very strange. So someone attacks Maggie, and so she attacks someone else, and the cops put her in a car. And then in the meantime, Hopi has been looking for Maggie. So Hopi sees this and puts a, you know, attacks that person, and then the cop puts her in the car, and they end up in this car together. And so they're reunited. The end. I will tell you that it was better than Wigwam Bam. But honestly, I've had enough of Maggie and Hopi. I definitely have had enough of Hopi a long time ago. And I mean, I understand that no matter, you know, this concept that even people that aren't good for each other or aren't good people, you know, they have love and all that. And I know Jaime loves these characters, but really seeing Maggie just do stupid stuff and put herself in these dumb situations over and over and over and over again, and seeing Hopi just be this manipulative woman who, I guess she loves Maggie, although she doesn't really treat her like she loves her. I mean, they have sex, but I don't think she's able to actually like feel like real good positive love. I'm done with these characters. I'm kind of done. I'll finish the rest of the trades because I have them. But I'm gonna do volume 12 and volume 14, which are stories set in Palomar, and then 15 is just a collection of other stories. Like I said, I'm done with these characters, and in a way, I guess maybe I'm speaking against comics royalty, but I don't know if with this series that they stuck the landing. In that I think the stories early on and just seeing that growth and that ability to do the great comics was really exciting, and seeing, reading Death of Speedy and these other series that I think were good. But it seems like Jaime was trying to do too much with too many people. He created this huge cast of characters, and then he had to resolve a lot of things and tell their stories. And it seemed kind of choppy. And I think, while Jaime is really good, a lot of his stories, they're not emotionless, but you have a hard time connecting with them as a reader, with the characters. I mean, maybe that's just me, but that's just the way I felt. And not everybody has to be nice and sweet to connect with them. It just seems like these are just a bunch of people aimlessly wandering through life, making really questionable, dumb decisions. And yes, there's things in their youth that I'm sure caused some trauma, but like at the end of the day, it just seems like a lot of weird stuff, that randomness, that after a while it just kind of gets old. I can imagine reading these things when they were serialized must have been crazy, because I read them as a graphic novel, so everything is contained, and you can kind of go back and quick. But if you were reading this every 2 months, you had to go back and reread stuff to try to pick up what was going on here. To me, this is still the best way to read this series. I don't care what anybody says. Collected like this, in this format, this series from the 80s to the 90s is the best way. And it's a shame, because I liked this series more earlier in the volumes, like volume 9 and 10. But now after that, I'm starting to like just finish it to finish it. But like I said, I don't know if they totally stuck the landing on some of these things. Although this actually had a lot more heart and connection to me as a reader than this. Maybe it's the characters, maybe it's the way they're written. It just seemed like it was easier to be more empathetic to the characters in this story as opposed to this story. Anyways, my long take. Thanks.